All right, we're going to get started. So again, thank you all for joining today. It's been a while since we had our last webinar, so it's good to be back. I'm here with Kate Bowen, our program manager, and our friend Joshua Coleman, who's our FSA rep for today. I'm going over urban ag today. A lot of great information going on here. I know it'll be a lot to take in. Again, if you have any questions, put it in the chat or Q&A. And Joshua, you have anything you'd like to say before we get started?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much, Diego. Just glad to be here with y'all today to share a few updates in regards to urban ag and support that's available through Farm Service Agency. So definitely thanks our partners at Farmer Veteran Coalition and Diego and Kate for inviting us to be a part of today. So hopefully y'all will be able to take something away good.
All right, thank you. And this is being recorded, so it'll be uploaded on our YouTube channel afterwards. And let's get started. Kate, take it away.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for taking the time to be here today. Just some housekeeping. This is a program that we're working on through a grant that we have with the USDA. So we're providing technical assistance. So for any of our Farmer Veteran Coalition members who are listening in today, if you have any questions before you even go into the FSA, or if you're having any challenges working with FSA, we're here for you, and we can listen to your story and try to support you through getting the services that are out there. We have a form on our FEC website, which is Farm Vet Co. And you can request technical assistance that way. We've been doing these webinars every month, and so we have a library of them that are available on our YouTube channel. We also have our translation services, so you can just call that 1-800 number. That's really a 1855 number, FVC Farm, and request just about any language out there. There's over 50 of them that we can work with. We have our FSA digital toolkit available on our website, and we also encourage you to follow us on social media, and our FVC chapters also have usually Facebook pages as well. Some also have Instagram as well. But that's a great way to stay in touch with us from the FVC side. And if you're not a member, but you'd like to join the FVC, you can also do that at our website as well. All right, so I'm really excited to be here today with Joshua because he's a wealth of knowledge about all of USDA FSA programs, and with 80% of the US population living either in urban areas or near urban areas, these programs can affect a lot of Americans' lives and really help people get into farming. So we're looking at these programs mostly through a lens today of beginning farmers, which is important because a lot of our veteran farmers are getting into ag as they're transitioning out of their military service. So that's sort of the lens we're going to view it in today. There's a lot of pros with supporting these urban ag programs. We can strengthen our food system, create food security, new market opportunities, tackle the climate crisis. There's a lot of job creation opportunities, and we can help communities that have been left behind and boost their food sovereignty. This can be a huge improvement for food desert areas and people that just don't live close to a lot of grocery stores, or transportation is an issue. But the other piece of this program is that you don't always have to live in a city. So a lot of people who might be doing vertical growing in their garage and then selling at a farmer's market, those people would also qualify for a lot of these programs. And a lot of our rural tribal areas would also qualify for these. So I'm excited to hear Joshua's take on what urban ag means to him as well.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. So urban ag, I think, as you mentioned, Kate, it's very much more prevalent than sometimes we really think of it. Sometimes, again, you think urban areas, you think of everything outside of agriculture that kind of happens. But definitely, we are looking at urban agriculture as a way to be able to address a lot of those food insecurity and food desert issues that you see, but also health outcomes that also come along with that. But from an FSA perspective, just as all of our safety net programs and farm loan programs are available for those eligible producers that are operating in rural America, also in urban America as well, for those producers that are either doing fruit and vegetable crops or doing livestock, and whether it's what we consider traditional production or innovative production, be it hydroponics, aeroponics, vertical gardens, rooftop gardens, those type of assistance. We're now starting to look at how we can better provide that to those producers in those areas. Generally, our programs, they can work for producers, as they can for all producers. And sometimes it takes us being a little bit creative with a little bit of the policy and procedure with those, but still working to provide that assistance that those producers need. And so definitely, hopefully those of y'all that may be located in some urban areas will find the information here useful. Hopefully some of these programs can be of benefit to you or those that you know. So hopefully you'll be able to take something away good and how FSA can support those of y'all that are operating in urban areas.
And then could you touch on these new urban offices? So I think a lot of these places already have, they would have access theoretically to an FSA county office. All of us in America have a county office somewhere in our community. But the 17 new offices across America in urban centers, can you touch a little bit on sort of what their purpose is and who they're going to be serving?
Of course. So USDA as a whole, we have over 2,300 service centers across the country. And so those service centers not only house FSA, but also NRCS staff, and some of those also include rural development staff. And so for FSA, there's a county office somewhere that services every county and every territory across the country. Before the urban service centers, those that did live within those locations where those offices were, they were generally served by an office that may have been located a county over, or even a couple counties away, because there was never really a lot of production going on in a lot of those urban counties for there to be an office there. And so in the 2018 Farm Bill, it authorized the Secretary of Agriculture to pilot at least 10 urban county committees. And I won't jump too far ahead on next. I know Kate's going to cover that a little slides further, but the urban service centers are located in those pilot locations where we have those urban county committees. And so these urban service centers, they are being established in those locations to better address the needs and provide that access to those urban producers, so that way they can access those offices right there in their communities. We opened here in Texas, we did open an office in Dallas earlier this year, back in May. And so we have both FSA and NRCS staff that's located there. They are urban staff. And so they are being prepared to learn our programs in a way that can better fit and better provide assistance to urban producers that do come in that need assistance. But also part of that is from, again, the accessibility standpoint, being able for those producers to come somewhere right within their area and not have to travel, an hour or more to get to a local office to get assistance with. And so we're definitely excited to see a lot of the work and successes that'll come out of our new urban service centers.
And so could you explain a little bit about the OUAIP and sort of what that means and what that looks like, and what they're providing at these service centers? Because it's not just FSA programs, right?
Right, sure. It's not just FSA programs. And so back to the 2018 Farm Bill, when it established those urban county committees, it also established what is now known as the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production, or OUAIP. Hopefully you all won't get lost in acronyms. We love a good government acronym. But OUAIP, it is housed within the Natural Resources Conservation Service, so it's housed within NRCS in the Office of the Chief. And so through that office, they are not only taking a mission area approach to trying to identify what those needs and resources urban producers have, but they are taking a whole of USDA and to some degree a whole of government approach in how, specifically through USDA, how the different agencies within the department have programs that can benefit urban producers, and then looking at ways to how we can either improve those programs, or if there's something that's there that we don't currently have, trying to see how we can provide that support either through new programs or amending existing programs that we do have. And so through OUAIP, they are coordinating with the different agencies across our mission area, which includes FSA, the Risk Management Agency, and NRCS, being able to look at our programs and to definitely provide that assistance to producers. NRCS, they've been have a little bit more flexibility with their programs. And so I know one of their key programs that a lot of producers probably heard of, their EQIP program or the Environmental Quality Incentives program. I know here in Texas, they've piloted a couple different things here around the state with that program, focused on urban and small acreage producers and how they can access those programs. Through OUIP as well, they've also done a series of grants as well. So one of them is their compost and food waste reduction program. And it's working with cities and municipalities and other eligible entities in addressing how can they take food waste and turn into innovative practices. And so whether they're using it for compost or whether they are finding other ways to use that waste and turn it back into some type of either income generating project or either contribute it back to somewhere in agriculture. A lot of those organizations and grants through that program are taking a look at how they can improve that. The Urban Agriculture and Production, their competitive grants program through OEIP, that one is providing assistance to, again, those same eligible entities to provide assistance either through programs or within communities to help address some of the needs and resources that those urban entities have. And so some of the common things that we might see with some of those grants might be funding community garden projects. It might be installing certain types of innovative production practices that can benefit a whole community, and even some type of things when it comes to tying in different portions of communities to make sure that that support is there and available. And so through there, OUIP, they're piloting those two programs, but again, looking at all the other programs through the agencies within the department and seeing how we can better do our job and make sure that urban producers have the resources that they need. Now, with the urban and suburban county committees, do you want to go ahead and touch on those, Kate?
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Right. Okay, right ahead. Okay. So with the urban county committee, so through FSA, our county committees are a locally elected board of farmers and ranchers who are responsible for making program determinations. So reviewing applications, approving or disapproving those applications. They oversee the county executive director in our county offices, and they also serve as the voice of those agricultural communities to our state committees and also to our national leadership in Washington, D.C. And so when you look at the urban county committees, again, which were established as a pilot in the 2018 Farm Bill, those urban county committees, they have the same responsibility as our regular county committees, but they are also charged with helping to identify what the needs and resources urban producers have. And so right now we have 17 of those urban county committees that are online, and they are all across the country. At the end of July, the Deputy Secretary announced 10 additional locations that are coming online next year. And so those also include locations across the country, in addition to a second location here in Texas, which will be in Houston. And so depending on where you are in the state, there may be an urban county committee that's in your state or even in some of the areas where you all are located. Because I've seen where some of you all are located in the chat. And so I know places like New Orleans, Portland, Chicago, Atlanta, St. Louis, those places, they have urban county committees that are set up. And so definitely it provides the opportunity for us to better engage with those urban producers through those county committee members. Because generally our county committees, they are within their community, so they know the urban producers or the producers that they're serving. And so it kind of serves a good role for us to be able to kind of have that direct link to those urban producers to kind of hear what it is that they need from USDA, what they need from FSA, but again, also helping us to identify how we can better serve them as well, and letting them also help us from an outreach perspective. What's on the screen now is our general schedule that we follow for our county committee elections. And so as is here on the screen, anytime you can reach out to your local FSA office to figure out how you can participate, whether in the urban county committee or even in your regular county committee, regardless of where you're located at. If you have a farm number set up through FSA, you are assigned to a local administrative area for FSA, which is how our county committee boundaries are established. And so with our county committees, once a person is elected to serve, they serve a 3-year term, and they can serve up to 3 consecutive terms. So they can serve up to 9 years before they have to sit at least 1 year off. But with that, you can find out where you're located at, what LA you're in, and if that LAA is up for election. The process for it starts when the election cycle starts, is that around the middle of June, we start our nomination period. And so for that, you can either nominate yourself or you can nominate someone else who agrees to serve on that county committee. And so the nomination period generally lasts about a month and a half, and around that first Monday or August the 1st was when those nomination forms are done or are due into the local office. We do some background work behind the scenes, and then around early November, usually that first Monday in November, the ballots of those eligible nominees is mailed out to all eligible voters. And so those eligible voters generally have until the first Monday of December to return those ballots back to your local FSA office. And then those successful nominees, they will take office on January the 1st of the following year to serve their 3-year term. Now, for our county committee, so you must not have been removed or disqualified from FSA county committee membership or alternate membership or FSA employment. And you cannot have previously been removed for cause from any public office or have been convicted of larceny, embezzlement, or any other felonies. And generally, to be eligible, you have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to be a producer with records that is administered through that county committee jurisdiction. And you also have to reside in the area for where the LAA is located. Now, I will say specifically for here in Texas, our schedule is a little bit different this year because in Dallas, we made some adjustments there. And so we're expanding that county committee westward to include Tarrant County. So that'll be Grand Prairie, Fort Worth, Arlington. And so we're on a little bit of an amended schedule for that one. And then Houston, that will also kind of be on the same schedule. And so our nomination period opened for both of those locations this past Monday. And again, so producers will have until about the beginning of December to get those nomination forms in. I did see a question in chat, what's the LAA? So a LAA is local administrative area. And so that is how FSA determines the boundaries for those county committee jurisdictions of which those members will serve. You can reach out to your local FSA office. Again, if you already have a farm number, you already established, you can reach out to them to find out what LAA you're located in, and also if that LAA is up for election this year.
And I wanted to share this for 2 reasons. One, we haven't covered county committees in our other webinars, but also because the urban ag offices are just opening, there's more of an influx of these positions open. And I do often feel like, in our veteran community, service is a big deal. We're often willing to continue to serve. And this is an opportunity not only to continue to serve, but to have the voice of farmer veterans into FSA. You can help advocate, whether it's for being a disabled veteran or trying to make the veteran term in FSA and USDA and in our government be more than the same as what a beginning farmer means. And you can be advocating for what you believe in. And I think that this is something where when people are frustrated with their experience that maybe they've had, you can get active. And I don't think people often realize that they do have a voice and a say in this. It just takes your time and energy to be on a committee, but it can be a really rewarding thing. So that's something I just encourage our members.
Yeah, definitely, Kate. And so with that, I did drop a link in the chat because there were 2 other questions on one on how do they find their LAA, and then where do they connect if their county does not have a county committee yet. So the link that I dropped, it's to a GIS tool that we have. And so in addition to calling your local FSA office, you can use this tool online to find out what LAA you're located in. And so it works for LA county committees across the country. And so no matter where you are, you can go find what LAA services your area, as well as that associated FSA office. I will say every county does have a county committee now. If it's an urban county committee, if it's one of the new locations, that might not be set up yet. But just as far as county committees go, every county has a county committee that services them through their local FSA office. And so definitely you can reach out to your local FSA office to find out what LAA you're located in. It's a few more questions that popped in, but I'll go ahead through the presentation and then we can come back to those. So when you look at who can vote, so the person that's voting, they have to be of legal voting age, but if they're not which is 18. But if they're not at least 18 years old, they have to supervise and conduct a farming operation for their own farm. And so somebody that's less than 18 years old, they have to run their own farm to be eligible to vote. Generally, they have to be engaged in production or sale of ag commodity as either an individual who is capable and eligible to vote in their own right, is a partner of a general partnership, or is a member of a joint venture. An authorized representative of a legal entity, they can be one of those. And so that's either a corporation, estate, trust, or limited partnership, or one of those other that's listed there. Or they can be either in a state, a political subdivision, or a state, or any state agency, but only the designated representative of either of those can vote for that entity. And then this third one here is important for urban county committees. For our regular FSA county committees, you have to be participating or cooperating in any FSA program. And so for FSA purposes, for regular county committees, that can be as simple as having a farm number. But if you do any of our other programs, including acreage reporting or NAP or anything else, it will qualify you for that. For our urban county committees, we wanted to be able to capture as broad an audience as possible, because we know that urban agriculture is not just a monolithic definition. There are broad things that can fall under urban agriculture. And of course, everybody that's involved in urban agriculture may not be involved necessarily in production. And so for urban county committees, anyone can vote as long as they participate or cooperate in any USDA program. And so that's through any of the department's 29 different agencies. And so for anyone that may receive SNAP benefits, if they are participating in programs through the Agricultural Marketing Service, maybe if they've even used some of the programs through the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service. So they either participated or cooperated, meaning that they've learned or engaged somewhere with a USDA program. And so it creates this broad definition for us to be able to kind of capture a broad group of eligible nominees that we can hopefully pull from.
All right, and then can we shift gears a little bit and head over to going to FSA for your first time, and what the ideal visit looks like for you from the FSA side of things?
Sure. So definitely, when you're preparing your first visit, we definitely encourage you to call and make an appointment. Again, most of our offices, if there are some of the simple things that you might need to get done, you can walk in, but definitely calling ahead and setting up the appointment. Make sure that the staff in the office that you'll be working with has time dedicated to sit down or work with you, take time to explain program applications and answer any questions that you might have, and also ensure that we can answer any questions and get you signed up for those programs. We do offer interpretation services at our county offices. And so whether we offer document translation, on-demand interpretation, and that includes both virtual and by phone. And we also offer in-person interpretation, and those are available free of charge for any producers that need to come in and do business with FSA. All of our offices have I Speak posters that are available. And so producers can select what their language needs are, and we can move from there. Definitely, if you have questions ahead of time, come in with those questions and we'll be happy to answer those questions. If it's your first time coming in, you do need the established records, and we're going to ask for your proof of identity. We're going to ask for a deed for the actual property itself. If you don't have deed, we'll ask for a copy of the lease or rental agreement to show that you're in charge of that property. And then if you are operating as an entity, we'll ask for those full entity documents, so that way we can work with you in determining eligibility for those programs. So during that visit, you can discuss what your business and conservation goals are. And so if it's after a disaster, we can see what type of programs are there. If you're coming in ahead of time to set up a farm number and want to do acreage reporting, we'll work with you to do that. Or if you want to come in to look at equip, to either do cross fencing or watering systems, or get a conservation technical assistance, we can do that as well. And so there are plenty of things there. This document that's on the screen is from our Get Started at our Urban Service Centers guide. And so definitely it's kind of a worksheet that you can kind of fill out ahead of time to kind of be able to kind of plan out what your questions are, kind of what you need to get done during that visit, and enables our staff to be able to help you a little bit more focused when you go in. So some of the common forms that you'll be completed, one will be a customer data worksheet, which pretty much just gathers information on you. One of them will be an adjusted gross income certification form. Most of our programs require producers to make under $900,000. That's averaged over the last 3 years. For most producers, that's not a problem, but for those that comes issue sometimes. But anyway, that's another common form that you might need to fill out. For beginning farmers and ranchers and veteran farmers and ranchers, you can fill out the form CCC 860, which is a certification form that tells FSA that you are qualified as a member of that targeted audience. There are special provisions for those producers that fall within those categories. It varies per program, but again, that would be the form that would enable you to do that. Also, you have to be in compliance with highly erodible land conservation provisions and wetland conservation provisions. And so your local office, they'll work with you in filling out that form and making sure that you fill that form out completely. And then also receipt for service. Receipt for service, by law, we are required to provide those for eligible interactions that producers have with our agency, as well as NRCS and rural development. On the service center counters, they will give you, there should be a copy of a receipt for service poster that will serve as a reminder. And for FSA, all of our staff members, or most of our staff members, have now received the name badge that has a tagline that "Don't leave without your receipt." And so very important reminders there to make sure you get that receipt that will serve as your official documentation of that visit that you had with FSA. So all of these organizations, we do have social media pages, and so they are good ways to keep up to date with a lot of the different programs that go on through our agencies. Again, depending on what specific needs you have will determine which of these agencies might be most applicable to you. Again, through FSA, a lot of our programs are focused either on the loan side of things, so providing producers with that capital that they might need, or safety net programs, which are kind of designed to keep them in operation, whether it's due to a natural disaster, market fluctuations, or other things that might happen. But definitely NRCS, they have those conservation programs for you all to take advantage of if you need those. And then Risk Management Agency kind of guides the federal crop insurance program, and so it's available through them. But again, all these other agencies listed here have great programs that you all might be able to take advantage of. So the People's Garden Project, this is through NRCS, but for those People's Garden, these are pretty much were piloted under the first term when Secretary Vilsack was here. And so these are ways for gardens across the country to engage with their communities and being able to provide access to educational opportunities, but also to encourage those producers and to those communities to also get back involved in agricultural production. We have People's Gardens that are located across the country. And so anyone can sign up a garden to be a part of it. We have lots of community gardens that are located here in Texas. In Dallas, we do have a flagship garden that's located at Texas Discovery Gardens. And so through that program and through that project there, Texas Discovery Gardens and NRCS partnered together to kind of establish that garden. And so they've been doing work there over the last year or so with being able to educate different producers that come in, providing volunteer opportunities for those within the community to learn a little bit more and give back within their neighborhoods as well. For those that do join and sign up as community garden, you do get some People's Garden signage to say that it's a part of that project. There's a webinar series that happens that provides some good useful information to help out those organizations that are maybe working with community gardens. It also provides you with a place to access different resources that are available through USDA and being able to support those community gardens as well. But you can go online to USDA's website at usda.gov/peoples-garden to see a map of where those people's gardens are located across the country and to get more information on how you might be able to sign up a garden near you. So when we take a look at grants, most of the grants that are available through the department and OUAIP are generally split off into two categories. So one of those is going to be for producers, and then one of those is going to be for food system partnerships. When you're looking at those that are for producers, many of those will be by individuals or community gardens that kind of run those farms or gardens to be able to provide assistance either to focus on a specific urban agriculture project or to focus on something that's in that innovative production realm. Generally through FSA, we don't have a lot of those that end up being available, but through OUAIP, NRCS and some of those other agencies in the department, they may have some of those programs that end up being available for producers to apply for. Now, when you look at food system partnerships, those are pretty much focused on those entities to form those relationships that work on food system and food access issues. And so those you may see more through the agricultural marketing service, the food and nutrition service, and then also some of those opportunities may be available through the grants that are available through OU AIP as well. So here are a few projects. Oh, sure. I didn't mean to cut you off, Kate.
No, that's perfect. I just wanted to make sure you knew what
Okay,
this
yeah.
little text, tiny text was. It was hard to fit it all in, but
Sure. No.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Yeah, no, these are a few of the previously funded projects that OUIP granted through one of their previous production cycles in 2020. And so just kind of gives you an idea of kind of what some of the things are that organizations could do with funding from OUAIP with their grant programs. Generally, these are also available online, and so you can go to OUIP's website to kind of get a synopsis of what these funded projects were. And so if you do work with other organizations that may be interested in some of this grant funding to do certain types of projects, then it kind of gives you an idea of kind of what's there, what to look for. With these grants, with the Urban Agriculture Innovative Production Grant, as well as the Community Food Waste Reduction Grant programs, there will be some of those coming for this FY. They haven't been announced yet. They ran into a bit of a delay, but be on the lookout for those if those are in that you may be interested in applying for down the road. So taking a look at some of the urban ag assistance for producers. And so the large ones and most of the programs are available through FSA. And so definitely our farm loan programs. And so if producers need to purchase equipment, seed, fertilizer, livestock, honeybees, generally anything that you need to carry out the farming operation, generally we can fund those things. For producers that may need to purchase land or maybe do capital improvements, we can generally fund those types of things as well. Here in Texas, we've not seen a lot of innovative production type projects, but we are open to those that come in and apply for those, because we definitely want to make sure that we are providing producers with the opportunity to apply and to see if there's things that we can fund. Our farm storage facility loan program, that's also available. And so for those producers that are producing the commodities and they need storage for those, we might be able to loan on those types of things. So that can include cold storage. It can include hay barns. It can include refrigeration trucks. And so there are a variety of things that could be eligible for that program. Our organic certification cost share program. So for those producers that might be transitioning to organic or getting certified organic, we can reimburse some of those certification costs up to 75% of them, not to exceed $750. And so generally, after you've completed the process and you've gotten your certificate that you are certified organic, you'll work with your local FSA office, provide them with a copy of that certificate, fill out the application, and then they'll work on making a determination on that application. But the rest of these bulleted here, I won't go through all the rest of them, but definitely these are some different opportunities that may be available for urban ag producers through FSA. The list on the right, again, those are different organizations and agencies within the department that may also have programs available for urban producers. So definitely encourage you all to take a look at their web pages to see kind of what's available through their agencies that might be of benefit to you. So a little bit on your urban business plan. And so definitely, regardless where you're located, every state has a beginning farmer and rancher coordinator. And so, and as well as beginning farmer rancher team. The teams are responsible for making sure that they can connect those beginning farmers and ranchers with different resources through USDA to kind of let them know how we might be able to help out with our programs. Here in Texas, I do serve on our beginning farmer rancher team as the champion for FSA programs. And so definitely kind of work to provide producers or those that reach out with kind of general information on kind of how USDA can assist, but also make sure that we can connect you with your local office staff. Again, we want to be sure that we are connecting you with your local office staff so we can go ahead and start that team approach to things. So that way you have you can start developing a relationship with that local person that you'll work with and be able to hopefully access our programs if they make sense for you and if you're eligible to participate in those. Kate, I think I might let you locate your FVC chapter.
Sure. So some people across America have FEC state chapters. Some are just coming on board. So you can connect with those people for mentorship opportunities. There's usually several workshops that chapters host. Our national conference is also coming up. So there's lots of ways that, your FEC family can provide support to you as you start planning your farm. We can often connect you with our veteran member services. If you're interested in beekeeping, you can give us a call and we can connect you with beekeepers that might be in your state or not in your state if it's something really unique, but they're willing to give you a call and they can kind of mentor you over the phone. So there's a lot of that. And then there's in the right hand corner on my screen, hopefully it's on yours as well, there's the business worksheets that USDA provides, and those are really good. And those can help you with your balance sheets, your income, expenses, things like that you may or may not need depending on the FSA programs you subscribe to, but they may be really helpful as you get going defining your business plan. Do you want to touch on the conservation and the risk management piece? Because I guess through the FSA work we've done this summer, a lot of people have contacted us after an emergency. So after a hurricane or a drought or something like that. But can you talk a little bit about the importance of incorporating natural disasters before it's an emergency so that those common forms and your relationship with FSA is already established, that can really just help ease sort of the discomfort when you're going through an emergency like that on your farm?
Of course. And so definitely when you look at, I'll hit the risk management piece first and then come back to the conservation piece of it. Definitely on the risk management side of things, it's important to kind of have a plan in place before disaster happens. It's a lot harder to kind of have to go back after disaster because right after disaster, you're generally trying to make sure that life, property, all those things are protected first, and then everything else kind of comes a little bit secondary to that. And so definitely the risk management, you want to be sure, especially if you're producing crops, that you have some type of insurance, whether it's through RMA or whether it's through the NAP program, that you have something that's in place there. If you have livestock, you may look to see what types of other opportunities for insurance might be available through the risk management agency to help cover some of those losses. Again, it's just like car insurance. You hope to never have to use it, but you want to be sure to have something in case something happens. But also on the risk management side of things, it's always good to keep records. Anytime with most of our disaster programs, they require some form of a record from the producer to participate in. And so whether it's keeping up with your production, whether it's keeping up, if you do livestock, if it's keeping up with how many you have in your herd, if it's keeping up with your calving records, whatever it may be, it's important to establish some type of good record keeping system that allows you to be able to kind of track what you have. And so that way, if a disaster does happen, then you do have those records that you can refer back to and be able to substantiate any applications that you may have. But definitely, after you can, as soon after disaster, after you've gotten those pertinent things addressed, definitely reach out to your local FSA office. Generally, with most of our disaster programs, there is some type of deadline that is associated with the program where producers have to report those losses to FSA. And so it's going to be important that, again, after you've gotten those, life and property things addressed, that you work as quick as you can to be sure that you notify FSA that you've had a loss. Now, on the conservation side of things, there are different programs that are available through USDA, both NRCS and FSA, that can help producers address natural resource concerns that they have. From a disaster side of things, one of the conservation programs that we offer is the Emergency Conservation Program, or ECP. ECP is designed to help to rehabilitate and restore farmland to a pre-disaster condition. And so last year we saw early this year we saw quite a few tornadoes across the northeastern portion of the state. And so that program was pretty much there to help a lot of those livestock producers replace fence that might have been destroyed due to that tornado. But again, there's kind of one of the conservation programs that we offer. But definitely through NRCS, they have the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. And so as you want to do different types of projects or practices, they might be able to fund those for you. Definitely one of the first things that they'll work to do with you is establishing a conservation plan through their conservation technical assistance, and that's a free process. And so through that process, they can come out, they can meet with you on your land. They will talk with you about what your goals and what your objectives are, and then they will work with you in doing an inventory on what your natural resources access you have, what resource concerns are, and then work to developing a plan to help address those needs. And so depending on what's in that plan, some of those practices that they recommend may be eligible for funding through the EQIP program. But definitely reach out to your local NRCS office if questions on those programs, or FSA if you have questions on those, and definitely even taking a look at risk management agencies programs. You can definitely go to their website to read more about what's available.
And at the urban centers, generally, the FSA and NRCS people are probably sharing the same office, right? So it's kind of one-stop shopping.
Right, exactly. So just like most of our other service centers across the country, they in our urban service center locations, and most of them, FSA and NRCS are co-located. And so definitely once you finish with FSA, you definitely can walk right over to NRCS to get started there. Or even if you start with NRCS first, you can definitely talk with them first. And if you need to get set up, they'll bring you over to FSA and get you started with us. But definitely it's makes it easy for producers to engage with both of our agencies at the same time when they come in.
And then I
And
guess one of the biggest questions too is about size. Like when you talk about land, and I think we often talk about cattle and things like that, but for our urban producers, can you speak to what that might look like? Like if you just have 10 vertical towers and reporting that acreage to your FSA and RCS office.
Right. So with acreage reporting specifically, so that has been a new one for FSA to kind of address as some feedback that we've gotten from urban producers. And so with part of that, so with establishing a farm number, FSA can create farm numbers for property that is as small as 1/100th of an acre. So that's about 435 square feet. And so we can go really small. So we've created lots of farm numbers for backyard gardens that may be located at homes and subdivisions, and even multi-acre places that may be hidden somewhere within the middle of the city. And so there are definitely options there once it comes to getting that farm number. Now with our programs, depending on which program you're looking at will determine whether or not that program makes sense for you to participate in. Now, as you're eligible for it, you can participate in any program that FSA offers. But with some of our programs, they may not fit well for urban producers, just depending on what you're producing, the size of the operation, and other factors that may come into play. But definitely, you can kind of take a look at those to see if they make sense for you. Now, from an NRCS standpoint, NRCS, at least here in Texas, I think I mentioned earlier that they have some specific practices that are for urban and small acreage producers, which operate on land that's under 10 acres. And so through some of their programs, there may be a few more flexibilities there for urban producers and the type of assistance that they might be able to provide. But definitely that gives you all the opportunity to reach out to NRCS to kind of talk about what's available. I do know here in Texas, again, even though we just have the Urban Service Center in Dallas, I do know the NRCS, they have urban conservationists that are located across the state here in Texas. And generally in most of the major urban locations, there's at least one urban conservationist that's kind of covering that area. And so definitely if any questions on NRCS's programs, feel free to reach out to them. Now from FSA perspective, although we just have the one urban service center in Dallas, all of our county offices across the state, those that are located in those urban areas, those same programs are available to producers as they're eligible to participate. And so whether you're in Houston, Austin, San Antonio, El Paso, those offices are there to assist those producers that come in and have questions and want to participate in our programs. And so definitely reach out to your local FSA staffs, and they'll be more than happy to address eligibility questions with you and let you know how FSA can assist.
So I also wanted to let our membership know that this is a 2-day training opportunity that's coming up and will be a great opportunity to go over some of this stuff that is specifically available to veterans and military spouses as well. And that information is on the USDA website. The other thing that I only recently discovered as we go back a little bit towards business planning is the score.org information. So this is a a group that USDA works with that has an incredible collection of free on-demand webinars for everything from business planning to employee questions, really from that business aspect side of getting your farm up and running. There's some incredible resources there that I would definitely check out. And then I wanted to also let everyone know that later on today, Flower Hill has their office hours. So that's another opportunity. We're going to have an FSA team member there. So it's kind of an informal, not recorded opportunity to bring your very personal questions you can ask them about your specific farm that we may not be able to cover today in our question and answer period. But if there's anything also that is sort of remaining, you think about tomorrow, just reach out and we can always get Joshua's contact information to you, and we'll open it up to our questions right now.
All right, so I'm scrolling back through the chats. I think there were a few questions from a little bit early in the presentation. One of them was, how is the urban service center different from a regular service center? Generally, our urban service centers, they are staffed with personnel that are more focused towards urban producers. And so when you start looking at, again, working with small acreage producers, some of those innovative production practices, these urban service centers are there to be a little bit more tailored to work with those producers in urban areas that are more likely to be doing some of those things. However, you can go again to any FSA office to take advantage of our programs. But again, those urban service centers just have staff that are going to be a bit more prepared to work with those types of operations and producers that come in. What else we got in the chat? So I've been told by other producers that there aren't crop insurance programs for us. Is that true? It depends. So generally through the federal crop insurance program, that's administered by the risk management agency. I believe the risk management agency, they do have a tool on their website where you can go to see if there is coverage available for the types of crops that you're producing. Now, with the risk management agency, they directly don't offer crop insurance. They do it through their network of approved insurance providers. And so also on RMA's website, they do have a crop insurance agent locator. And so you can see what agents are providing service in your area. You can reach out to them to ask additional questions on available programs. Now, for crops that might not be eligible for RMA crop insurance, they may be eligible for the non-insured crop disaster assistance program that's available through FSA. That program, it is designed to provide coverage for those crops for producers that can't get coverage for that crop through RMA. Now, with that, if it is a new crop that's being grown in a county that hasn't been grown there before, then there are a few more requirements that will come with some of those crops. But generally, if it's just a common crop that you can't get RMA coverage for, it might be covered by the NAP program available through FSA. So definitely just reach out to your local FSA office. If the crop is not eligible for RMA coverage, reach out to FSA, your local office, and they can let you know whether NAP is available for that crop locally. Another question, are there programs for greenhouse or high tonal gardening? Through NRCS, through the EQIP program, I do know they do a lot of work with high tonals and working with producers to get those set up and established. And so you can definitely reach out to NRCS to follow up a little bit more on what might be available there locally. Now, as far as a greenhouse go, I don't know if NRCS funds greenhouses through their EQIP program, but possibly it might be eligible for a farm loan through FSA to establish one of those. But definitely check with NRCS on the high tonal piece of it, and also ask the greenhouse question. But again, if they can't fund a greenhouse through EQIP or cost share on it through EQIP, then you can reach out to FSA to see what loan options might be available for you as well. I think that might now. I see a question on DoD Skill Bridge. I'm not sure about that one. I don't know if Kate, if you want to try to tackle that one.
Well, there are Skill Bridge programs, and there's some that we participate with our Ag Vets program, so we could connect that way. We have some Skill Bridge students working with Archie's Institute, which is hydroponic. and vertical gardening mostly. And then we also have some with Rodale Institute, which does a lot of regenerative organic production with some urban producing stuff as well, with people doing some community garden stuff. And there's some SkillBridge students that we work with through that. So they could definitely reach out if they have more questions as far as that for us.
All
Uh,
right. And
we
then I'll
got
also read. Oh, sure. Go ahead, Diego. Sorry.
we got time for two more questions. So I'll go ahead. So there's one question in the Q&A. When it comes to establishing an urban farm, should we connect with someone before purchasing materials? Does the farm number assist with moving forward with any grants?
So if I'm understanding this question correctly, if you're setting up an urban farm, you don't necessarily need to connect with us before purchasing materials unless you're doing one of our programs. And so if you're doing a farm loan, then definitely you want to work on the farm loan piece up before you purchase materials. But if you are wanting to participate in any of NRCS programs and you're wanting to receive or apply to receive cost share assistance on any thing that you might be purchasing, then you want to work with NRCS first. With the EQIP program through NRCS, if your application ends up being funded through that program, you implement practices. Those practices have to be in accordance with government specs and standards that are established by NRCS. And so if you go out and do work that's not aligned with those specs, then they cannot reimburse you for those costs that you've incurred. And so definitely that may be part of your farm business plan as you establish that, and kind of how you want to carry out your farming operation is to try to identify what resources are available to you to take advantage of, and then seeing how those can connect with you before you get started with some of those things as well. The farm number, if you're doing any programs through FSA or through NRCS, you will need that farm number generally to access those programs. But generally that's just for NRCS, FSA programs, and a little bit of RMA. But if it's entities outside of those three agencies, then you may not need that farm number to get started. Also, one other thing to be mindful of, especially with urban agriculture production, is that depending on where you're located at, there may also be some municipality requirements that might fall in there as well that may restrict some type of production that you may want to do. And so it's also going to be important to know what's acceptable in the municipality that you live in. And so you might want to reach out to your city to find out what ordinance are there that you may need to be in compliance with as well.
All right, so last question, because we are reaching the hour mark. Let's see, where was it? And I don't might have to provide more details on this, but when presenting for a farm loan for a property, what is the requirement for a modest home on a property? I don't know exactly how we can answer that.
Yeah, so I've got this question before actually. And I don't have the best answer for it, but currently FSA does not have a definition of modest home. That has come up in some of our conversations and with some farm loan applicants recently. And so I do know that to some degree there is a CFR. I can't remember what it is now, but I believe through one of Housing and Urban Development Department programs that covers what a modest home is. And so to some degree, that might give you a loose idea of what we would consider a modest home, but FSA does not have a defined definition of what that is.
All right, thank you for that, Joshua. And that's about all the time we have for today. We had a lot of questions, great questions, great answers from Joshua and Kate. If you have any more questions, you feel free to reach out to us on support@farmvedco.org or through Kate at k@farmvedco.org. Again, it's recorded. It'll be on our YouTube channel, hopefully within the next week. I highly recommend attending Flower Hills office hours as well, going over the same topic to provide more information as well. For any questions that we may have missed, they can also help answer those. I'll put our link to our newsletter. So if you want any more news about FEC, what we got going on, feel free to sign up. I'll put the link in the chat. You can also go to our Facebook page and hit the sign up button on that as well. That's all I have. Kate, Joshua, anything else?
No, thank you everyone for joining us.
Nope. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you all. Thank you all. Yeah, excuse me. Hope you have a nice day, and we'll see y'all next time. Thank you.